If you are thinking about launching a course, and probably your first course, in this video I'm going to share with you the number one mistake that I see people make when they try to start their own online course business, and I'm going to tell you exactly how you can solve that problem so you don't make that same mistake. Because here's the unfortunate reality for a lot of people. Something like 70% of online creators and online coaches do not make more than 10K a month. And let's be honest, if you're going to get into your own business and take on the risk of, being self-employed, doing your own thing, running your own business, hiring people, paying your own taxes, buying your own health insurance, all of that stuff, making 10K a month would be like a good bare minimum that we want to get to. So we want to make sure you get there. Now, I have talked to so many people who spend like 6 months making a course, and then they struggle to get sales. And the biggest problem that this runs into is what happens is you lose motivation, right? You spend 6 months building something, you get no sales, and then you launch it and you still get no sales. You just run out of steam, and then you end up having to go get another job or go back to your old job, or you can't leave your current job, or whatever it is. And so that's what we really want to avoid here, which brings me to the biggest issue that I see and the pretty simple way to solve it, which is most people build their product first and then they go sell it. And the best way that I have seen to approach it is the other way. Sell your course first and then go build it. So the first time I ever launched a course, I had a tiny, tiny audience of a couple hundred people. But what I did was I went around for a few weeks, building my audience, talking to people, and then I went out and I pre-sold them a course that didn't exist. And I got paid about $10,000 before I started making that course. And I was super transparent about it. I was like, hey, you are buying this course. It does not exist yet, but it is going to exist. This is the release date. This is the stuff that's going to be inside. And if you're a founding member, we're going to give you a discount. You're going to be involved in the actual course creation process. So you're going to get more direct time with me. You're going to be getting to have some actual input on what's going to be inside the course and what you need. And so we framed it as their benefit, right? We weren't just like selling them something and pretending like it already existed and then giving them to them later, right? We're upfront about the fact that we're pre-selling it. But what I got out of that was I made about 10K before I made the course, and then I got paid money to go out and make the course. And so that's what I want for you too. And again, I'm talking to people here who are like brand new at this. You're just getting started. So presumably you don't have a big audience, right? Presumably you're not making any money with your business. And so I think, again, what we want to avoid is you going and sitting in your office or in your home or in your room or whatever in front of your computer and spending 6 months trying to make something that you think is amazing and then finding out later that the market doesn't want it. Or just finding out later that you're just not that good at marketing. I can't tell you how many course creators I meet who are so good at dealing with clients and coaching people and creating great products, which is amazing. And that's absolutely a huge part of being a great creator and a great course creator. But also you need to have that marketing side and have that marketing focus. And so I think what this strategy does really well is you will get into the process of thinking about marketing, and then you'll get into the process of thinking about selling. And then once you have the ability to start knowing that this is something the market wants and people are willing to pay for it, and then you can go out and create the product. You can create the product with people, again, being super transparent. Hey, this doesn't exist yet, but I'm launching this next month, So if you want to be the first person to get access, here's your discount, here's your benefits for right now. You get more time with me. Here's how you sign up. So that being said, how do you actually do this? So how do you actually execute this? And again, if you're just getting started, what I would do before I go out and create a course, especially a big one, is I would go out and start creating content and start trying to build that audience. Again, you don't need a ton of people to start selling your course, but you presumably need a couple hundred people who are actively engaged with you, right? So maybe these are leads on your email list. These are people in your Instagram DMs. These are people you're reaching out to and you're having conversations with. So not just followers, but people who are actually engaging with you. Now that could take a couple of weeks, maybe max, 2 or 3 months, depending on your skills with content creation and video and how good you are at making this stuff happen. But what we want to do is just build up this little warm audience of people who are engaging with you, interested in what you're talking about, and interested in the problems that you solve. And so you can create that audience, in a relatively short period of time. Again, I'd say max 90 days. You can do this really quickly in a couple weeks, depending on your skills and resources and stuff. But we want to get a small audience of people who are willing to, who are following you and are engaging with you, And then what we want to do is we want to make a sales page. And we want to make a sales page that says, hey, this is what I've got for sale. It doesn't need to be super complicated. You don't need a whole website. You don't need a whole funnel. You don't need a whole webinar. Like, you don't need all this crazy stuff. You just need a simple sales page that tells people like, hey, here's what you're going to get. Here's who I am and why I'm, talking about this anyways. Here's what's the timeline, here are the benefits, and here's the price. And so, and also too, like, I think it's really important to frame that price around, something like, hey, when I launch this totally to the public, this is going to be $2,000. But because you're the first people here, you're the founders of this group, and what you're going to do is instead, I'm going to sell it to you for $1,000. You're going to get, again, all the stuff I kind of mentioned before, right? Like more one-on-one time with me. I'll throw in an extra 1 or 2 calls with me. I will, get your input on the actual process that we're going through, all that stuff. So you frame it all as good benefits. And so the biggest thing here is that you are getting people to pull out their credit card and actually pay you money for the product that you're going to create. Because a lot of people will say that they will buy something, so like if you're talking to people in your audience, you're doing a little surveys, you're getting feedback from people through email or DMs or whatever. If you suggest like, hey, I'm going to put this thing up for sale, would you buy it? A lot of people will tell you yes. And then when it comes time to pull out their credit card and actually pay for it, they're not going to end up doing it. And so you want people to actually show you that they're going to pay for it by actually paying for it. And then what you can do is actually collect some money that is going to be the money that's going to fund you to actually be able to go out and create this thing. Now, once you hit a certain number of sales or a general revenue number that you set, so like, again, for my example, when I first did this, I wanted to sell 10 and I sold 10. I sold 10 at $1,000 for a course that I was going to sell for $2,000 later. So again, I made $10,000 to be able to go out and make this course, which was very motivating for me. It also gave me some deadlines in terms of like, I told these people the date this is going to be ready, exactly what's included, all of that stuff. So I got super motivated and I locked in and went out and made the course. That gives you proof of concept. The market's going to pay for it, and it gives you money to actually go out and make it. So like, that's exactly what you want. The other thing it does too is like, if nobody buys it, or let's just say like maybe 1 or 2 people buy it, and let's say you even decide to do a cheaper course. So you were going to do like a $200 course, but only 2 people bought it, right? Well, if $400 isn't really worth like your money for this, what you can do is just refund those 2 people and say, hey, you know what? There wasn't really the demand. Sorry, here's all of your money back. And I'm going to go back to the drawing board and come up with a different idea here. But again, what you're doing is you are getting proof that the market actually wants what you're selling, and you're getting paid in advance before you go out and make this thing. And I think that is just such an important fundamental concept, especially when you are getting started. Because again, I think the biggest challenge that I have seen so many people run into is they want to be selling digital products online, but they don't have an audience, they don't have a product, and what they do is they go in and again, they spend 6 months trying to make something, and the market doesn't want it. And then once they've gotten that much time and that much energy into it, and the market didn't want what they were selling, then they lost motivation, and then they stopped. And that's the worst thing that could happen here. By the way, if you want a little guide where I will actually walk you through exactly how to do this all step by step, just check it out in the comments down below in the description. I've got a little guide to your first 10K, so you can check that out. Now, the biggest objection that I hear from people when I have talked about this concept before is you can't sell something that doesn't exist. It's unethical, or they just think that you can't do it, or whatever that is. And one, that's just not true. This is, go online, start Google searching people who have pre-sold stuff, search on YouTube, whatever, like do your research. You will find so many case studies of people who are getting paid 10, 15, 30, 100K before they go out and build something, usually depending on how good at marketing they are, how much of an audience they have, how much of a brand they already have, all of that stuff. But this is a very, very common thing. And I think the thing that makes it work is you're just transparent about it, right? You're not going out and selling something that doesn't exist and then just people pay and then they just don't hear from you for 2 or 3 weeks while you're figuring things out. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is we're being super transparent about the fact that we are pre-selling something that is going to exist in the future. We're giving them a date. We're telling them exactly what's going to be inside. And we're telling them that they're going to get extra benefits if they're the first people to sign up. And when you take that approach, this can work exceptionally well. So if you just take away one thing from this video, please let it be, sell it before you build it, especially if you're just getting started. Spend that time building a small, engaged audience of people. Again, it doesn't need to be huge. You don't need tens of thousands of followers to do this. You need a couple hundred people who are listening to you and paying attention to you. You sell them something. My advice, sell them something expensive, like $1,000. Because again, 10 sales, $10,000, very, very motivating if you're just getting started in business. And then you have validation and go out, because if people aren't going to pay for it now, they're not going to pay for it later, right? And so we want to validate that before we spend 6 months doing something. The best people that I know who are really good at this stuff have gotten really good at validating things quickly and then moving fast. And if you're spending 6 months by yourself in your room building a course and you don't know if people are gonna buy it, you are not doing those things. Again, if you wanna check out my full system for how to do this, how to actually make your first 10K online, if you're like actually just getting started with your online course business, go ahead and check that out in the description below. And if you have any questions about exactly how to do this, drop them down in the comments because I'll definitely get back to you, and I will also use that to go make other videos. That's super helpful for me. Please hit that like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, because of course that helps me with all the YouTube stuff and I can keep making videos like this. Otherwise, I hope you have an awesome day out there. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in another video soon.